All right, let's get right into it. Today we're going to tackle a huge question, one that really sits at the foundation of, well, everything. Where does meaning actually come from? Is it something handed down to us from on high, or is it something we build ourselves, together?
So let's just start with a little thought experiment. Imagine that ultimate source of rules, whatever that looks like for you, a god, a cosmic force, you name it. Imagine it just went silent. No more instructions, no more mandates. Would our sense of purpose, our morality, our very sense of meaning just, poof, evaporate? It's a terrifying thought for a lot of people, but the answer might not be what you expect.
And this right here, this is the core idea we're digging into today. The silence doesn't actually create a void. What it does is it changes our relationship with meaning. See, what disappears isn't meaning, it's the certainty. It's the comfort of knowing that someone else wrote the rule book. And suddenly, that responsibility, it lands squarely on our shoulders.
Now, this fear of silence is totally understandable. I mean, the anxiety is that if there's no cosmic referee, then our values are just arbitrary, right? Right and wrong could just dissolve into, whatever you feel like at the moment. It's this deep worry that without that anchor, we're all just drifting in a meaningless universe. But what if? What if that anchor was never the true source of our values to begin with?
Okay, so to really understand this shift, first we need to look at the traditional model. For most of human history, meaning was seen as something that came from the top down, a rigid structure delivered from some kind of higher power or ultimate authority.
We call this imposed meaning. You can think of it like a pre-written moral code. It's static, it's not up for negotiation, and you know what its greatest strength is? It provides absolute certainty. It makes responsibility simple because your main job is just to obey. You don't have to write the rules, you just have to follow them.
A perfect real-world example of this is the divine right of kings. This idea held that a king wasn't in charge just because he had a big army, but because God had personally picked him. So the whole social order, from the king down to the peasant, was seen as a reflection of God's will. Your place in the world, your duties, your whole purpose, it was all imposed on you. There was no room for debate. To question the king was to literally question God.
And this brings us to the great alternative. This slide really lays it all out. On the left, you've got that imposed model we just talked about. It's top-down, it's static, and it gives you certainty. But on the right, you see a completely different way of building meaning. It's bottom-up, it's adaptable, and it demands our accountability. It isn't just decreed, it has to be forged.
So let's talk about this second model. This is the idea that meaning doesn't have to be beamed down from the heavens. Instead, it can grow right here, on the ground, straight from the soil of human experience.
And this right here, this quote gets to the very seed of it. Our morality doesn't start with a command to be good. It starts with something much more direct, much more undeniable, the experience of seeing another person who is vulnerable and feeling something in response, empathy, concern, that urge to help. Meaning begins in our relationships with each other.
And this is what we call emergent meaning. It's a system of values that's built from the ground up. And yeah, it's messy. It's always evolving. It's forged in the fire of dialogue and debate and in our shared recognition that, hey, we all kind of need each other. It's not weaker than imposed meaning. It's just much more responsive to the reality of being human.
And the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is probably the most powerful example of this in action. It wasn't handed down on a stone tablet. It was painstakingly built by people from all over the world, right in the aftermath of unimaginable horror. They came together, they argued, they negotiated, and they forged a shared understanding of human dignity, not based on a single divine command, but on the shared, painful experience of what happens when that dignity is completely ignored.
So, when you shift from an imposed system to an emergent one, something profound happens to our sense of responsibility. It doesn't just disappear. If anything, it gets deeper, and a whole lot more demanding.
The shift kind of looks like this. In the old model, morality is basically about obedience. You outsource your reasoning to the authority. You ask, did I follow the rule? If the answer is yes, you're good. But in an emergent model, morality is about justification. You have to be able to explain your actions and their consequences to the very people they affect. It becomes a shared process where you are accountable to your fellow human beings.
And this leads to something our source material calls the end of cosmic permission. What that means is, without a divine mandate to hide behind, things like cruelty and exclusion, well, they lose their metaphysical cover. You can't just say, hey, I was just following a higher order. Your actions have to be defended on their own ethical merits, right out in the open, in front of everyone else.
And here's the wild part. You might think that taking away the promise of eternity would make life meaningless, but it actually does the exact opposite. It intensifies everything.
When you realize that this is it, this one life is what you've got, everything becomes so much more precious. Time matters because it's finite. Relationships matter because they're fragile. And the fight for justice? It becomes urgent. Because we can't just kick the can down the road and hope for some kind of cosmic rebalancing in the afterlife. What we do right here and right now is what truly matters.
So what we're seeing is that the silence of some ultimate authority doesn't have to lead to nihilism or despair. Instead, it just reveals a fundamental shift in authorship. Meaning hasn't vanished at all. The job of creating it has just changed hands, from some distant power to us.
And that leaves us with the final, and I think most provocative question. It's pretty clear that meaning can and does exist without being imposed from above. It emerges from our shared humanity. The real challenge, the real question we're facing now is this: are we willing to accept the immense responsibility and the incredible freedom of being the authors of our own meaning?